Do you have an Apple TV 4K and you want to access some of the privileged developer information? Do you want to be able to access the Playback overlay HUD and see all of the audio and video details and codecs about the content that you're streaming? That's what I use for a lot of my streaming quality face-offs and technical reviews here on the channel. For a very short window, actually, you were able to access the developer menu just by virtue of installing the beta versions of tvOS on your Apple TV. That was a mistake. They didn't mean to release it, so I want to make this video on what the real process is in order to be able to access that developer menu. So right off the bat here, I just want to show, this is my Apple TV 4K, the 2022 latest generation model. If I look in the settings, I see System, Sleep Now down there at the bottom. I don't actually have the developer mode available on here. One of the pain points of using the developer mode is that every time there's an update, you kind of have to follow the process again and resync. But ultimately, the way that we'll make this available is going to be through Xcode. So before we jump into Xcode, I do want to show if we go into software updates, I have beta updates on, automatically update on, yeah, that's fine. But I am upgraded here to the latest software as available when publishing this video. For the general public betas, it's still tvOS 16. Yeah, 17 was announced and the developer betas are out. I don't run developer betas though, I only run the public betas. And if I try to update my software, Apple TV is up to date, again running tvOS 16.6. So let's take a look at how we actually need to use Xcode to get that developer menu back. So in order to get this developer access set up, you do have to have Xcode. Xcode can only be loaded on a Mac. And one of the tricks about this is you have to match the Xcode version to the version of your Apple TV. Notice here I've done a kind of a search for Apple Xcode developer software, and I've even got two versions here downloadable on the web page. It also is available in the Mac App Store, but we have here Xcode 14 right now. This is for all of the 16 versions of the OSs and the SDKs, but we also have Xcode 15 beta, which is for the 17s, which are again only in the developer beta right now as the time of recording this video. So you have to decide for yourself. You can access the developer menu either on production tvOS releases or on the beta releases, but you have to be running the right version of Xcode that matches the version of tvOS actually running on your Apple TV. So if you're in the 16s, you're going to need 14 still. When we move up to the 17s, you're going to need to move over to the new version, uninstall the old one, download the new one, and all of that. The other thing to point out is you do actually have to be like an Apple developer. If I go here to download and I try to get either one of these here from the web page, it will ask me to log in with an Apple ID. That Apple ID has to be recognized as Apple as being a developer account. And for the purposes of doing this, note it is free. In order to access some more advanced features of the Apple Developer Program, there is a paid tier and a paid level, but you can do all of this without actually having to pay Apple anything. And I would recommend just doing it on whatever main Apple ID you use for your personal use and your accounts and all of that. All right. After you install the right version of Xcode that matches up to what you want to do, you basically just launch it. You'll get the splash screen here. Note that sometimes there may be a pop-up asking you to essentially update the profiles of the tvOSs and the other OSs that Xcode supports. Keep in mind that every time a new version of all the OSs are released, and particularly tvOS, and you update on your Apple TV, the developer menu access will actually go away, and you have to update your version of Xcode to match the profiles and basically re-unlock it with this same process. So the way we unlock the Apple TV, we go here to Window, we go to Devices and Simulators, and we should be able ultimately to see available, accessible Apple TVs that are open and awake and presenting on the same network as the laptop. The thing to keep in mind is on your Apple TV, you actually need to go into Settings, Remotes and Devices, Remote Apps and Devices, and if you do that, bam, exactly then, your Apple TV will show up in the list. Then we pair it, you hit pair, you're going to get a code on your TV screen. I will enter mine in from what is appearing there, connect, and now we have a linkage between Xcode and the Apple TV. You'll see this indication here that the Apple TV is busy making the room or making that specific device ready for development. This takes a little bit of time, but when it's all done, after this, you will be able to finally access the developer menu and everything will be set and finished. Once that pairing is complete and the unlock is complete as well. You come back to your Apple TV, and now we can see in settings I have access to the developer menu. And if I scroll down, the most important aspect of this that most people are looking to get access to is the Playback HUD. Turn it on here, and now generally speaking, in all your apps, anytime you play content, you're going to get the overlay in the upper left hand corner, all the yellow text, audio, video details, and all of that information available. So there you go. That's the process to access the Apple TV developer menu. Again, the biggest key takeaway and the thing to keep in mind is that it's not something that you unlock once basically and you stay perpetually in access to it, especially if you enable the beta updates. You're going to get regular updates to your Apple TV, and you're going to constantly have to be unlocking this as you go, following the same process. I'll also point out that once you have the pairing done, I found the Xcode app to be pretty unreliable, meaning after your Apple TV updates to another beta release, the developer menu won't show up in the list anymore. You won't be able to access it. So you'll open up Xcode, you'll see your existing paired Apple TV in the list. The best process that I've found to try to get them to repair and have the developer mode come back is just to right click on the existing entry, unpair it, get rid of that, and then have your Apple TV again go back into the remotes and devices, remotes app and devices. It'll show up again, re-enter the code and repair it. Every release, it just works better to essentially redo the pairing process, and you'll get your developer menu back. So sound off in the comments if you've done this process. Did you find it generally pretty easy to follow? And do you take advantage of anything else actually in the developer menu option other than the Playback HUD? To be honest, the Playback HUD is really the only thing that I've ever really experimented too much with, but I'm curious if anybody knows if there's some other cool things to tinker within that list. Otherwise, I might recommend being careful what you do go exploring and changing options in that developer menu. Keep in mind as well that things might get stuck on you. So if you go turn some stuff on, then your Apple TV updates, those options could still be potentially enabled till you repair and go in and have to disable them again. But all in all, pretty cool. I'm happy that Apple makes this available to us. I'm very happy that they basically make it available to us for free. Thanks so much for watching, and please do all that regular YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, share the video, and leave those comments. And if you'd like to support the channel, a way to say thanks, there's YouTube Super Thanks. You can leave tips with PayPal and Venmo, and of course, do your shopping with my affiliate relationships below, particularly Amazon and audio advice for your home theater and hi-fi needs. Thanks so much for watching, and come on back for more home theater discussion and fun.